the squat rack here, just about at shoulder height. I honestly prefer if you have access to a cable column like this guy that's adjustable with a metal handle. And the reason being is it's really easy to progress a standing, any sort of Pallof press is much easier to be progressed when you have the ability to select weight versus the band, right? Because if I pull just a little bit harder on the band, there's gonna be increased resistance, but it's harder to gauge that from week to week. And then over a period of time, the bands lose their elasticity, so it's hard to gauge if you're actually progressing or not. So if you have access to a cable column that's adjustable, use that. If the setting doesn't go low enough, because a lot of times people have a hard time doing this correctly, then obviously go to a resistance band. So when we get set up, we're gonna have feet hip width apart. We're gonna go into a slight knee bent position, slight hip flex position. And where a lot of people miss the boat, in my opinion, is they really arch their back. And when they arch their back, that elongates the tissues in the front half of their body, and typically it's a lot harder to create tension in your midsection, because we're kind of fighting through an anti-rotation drill here with the Pallof press. So I like to go feet hip width apart, knees slightly bent, hips bent, and I even kind of cue some people into a slight posterior pelvic tilt, just so you're staying in like a neutral spine position, and then go through your breathing pattern, which we'll talk about right now. So, the band is in my hand, fingers laced together, that position that we just talked about, and then I'm gonna breathe in through my nose, thinking about leading with my belly button to create expansion through my midsection, and then I'm gonna punch my hands straight out and keep them chest height. A lot of people will do this, where they punch the ground. You can notice when I punch toward the ground, the angle between my trunk and my arm is less than 90 degrees, so it doesn't introduce nearly as much of a rotational component to the trunk. So we're really trying to keep the arms and the trunk right about that 90-degree angle, because that's the sweet spot to have a pure rotation occur. So if it's too easy with the band, you just scoot out, increase the resistance with the band. With the cable column, like I mentioned, you can just increase the weight that's selected on the stack, and then progress that over a period of time. Obviously, we're gonna do both sides, and then just kind of play with your position to find where you can feel that in your midsection. A lot of times you'll really feel it in your hips too, because you're putting a lot of force into the ground on the side the band's pulling you toward to resist it. So we get a little bit of loading into our hips at the same time while introducing an anti-rotation drill to the trunk.